He keeps himself in trim by bending bars of iron. This bar is the genuine article which we tested before he began to play with it.
Beyond the bend, beyond the bend.
All right, guys, thanks for supporting the show. I got a list of sponsors here. So first off, we got Harito Bending, harito-bending.com. You're going to use promo code CHEERS for 10% off. And a portion of that sale is going to come back to support the show. So I appreciate that. You know, everybody wants to be on the Harito cert list. I haven't heard a bad thing about the quality of his bolts. I can personally say that they're the same every time. Some really hard bolts on there. You got certs for every style, including snapping. He's also got wraps and t-shirts on there. So definitely hit up HaritoBending.com and use the promo code CHEERS. Next, we got Jed Johnson's Nail Bending Ebook. If you want to check this ebook out, if you're a beginner, message me for the link, because if you use this link, a portion of that sale is going to come back to support the show. We also have the Gripito Trainer. This is an all-in-one grip training tool. If you use promo code Beyond the Bend, you're going to save 15% off of a sale of $90 or more. We also have Gil, former guest, barrelstrengthsystems.com. Use promo code Beyond for 10% off. Gil's got a ton of cool stuff on there, including the flask. This is a pinch device. If you can do a body weight pull-up on this thing, you're going to get on a roster. I think that's pretty cool. All right. Lastly, we have Hard Life Fightwear. That's hardlifefightwear.com or .co.uk. If you want some rash guards or something like that for jiu-jitsu, they also got a bunch of other cool t-shirts on there. You're going to use promo code Beyond the Bend for 15% off. Also, if you want to get on a roster, an unofficial roster, hit up at Eat Chalk Get Big on Instagram. If you bent a 80D unbraced or two 60Ds taped together unbraced, you're going to get on an unofficial roster. The other thing is, if you snapped a horseshoe, I don't need a video. I'm keeping track of people who've snapped horseshoes just because it's a cool thing to do. If you've also snapped one into 3 pieces, hit me up. Or if you've snapped one laying down, there's only 2 people on that list, so get on it. Last thing, a couple new things coming up. I'm going to be putting out a feat of the week. This isn't really a challenge, more than just like something cool to do week by week. It's going to be just like some athletic stuff mixed with some bending and snapping. So I'm going to be putting that out, and the only way to participate is just to do it and then tag me in the post and throw it up on Instagram or Facebook. The other thing is, every month I'm going to be doing a monthly challenge. We've had some really good participation lately. I want to keep that going. I have some really cool things planned. So I really appreciate everybody's support, and looking forward to another good year. All right, thanks.
All right, special guest tonight. We got Mr. Eat Chalk Get Big. Devin Hoover's in the building. Welcome to the show, Devin.
It's really good to be here. Thanks, Cody.
I want everybody to go out in their dorm room hallway and wrap up a red and bend that thing tonight in honor of Devin. Devin was one of the first.
I forgot that is where I bent my first red nail, was in the hallway.
So when I got my bag of nails and I started hitting Instagram trying to figure out who was doing this crazy thing besides Daniel Strauss, I think I typed in hashtag steel bending, and you and Jaden Majensky came up. So forever in my mind, you guys will be there as the first 2 people I saw doing this wild thing, and definitely played a role in me getting super motivated to start this podcast. So thanks for that.
Wow, I didn't realize that I was up there with Jaden, so that's pretty cool.
So yeah, man, I think you were the first guy, and I think the first post I saw was you doing your first 60-day, I want to say.
Yeah, because I had only gotten into it like right before you did, and that post I had like tried to add as many different hashtags, and I was like, I've never done this before. So
it's funny because in a way, when I throw something up, I almost feel like the hashtags are silly for one, and 2 seem like a little like self-indulgent or something. It's like I'm already like posting this thing. Like I really have to like do this too. But then that's a perfect example, like someone that doesn't know who's who or anyone else that's doing this thing, specifically you, by putting that hashtag on it, me as a beginner found that, and then that opened up a little bit more of the world, so it's everybody should be hashtagging steel bending,
Yeah,
I guess.
hashtags work. Yeah, I follow a whole bunch of steel bending relating hashtags, and like it's amazing the way I like keep finding people who are like either have been doing it for a while or like bending their first 60 Ds. I reposted to my Instagram a bunch of people in the past like 2 weeks or so who like bent their first 60 penny nail, and I was like, I didn't even know who this person was, but they came up on my like hashtag steel bending or nail bending or one of the hashtags, and I was like, more new people, this is great. So
Yeah, definitely.
glad to like help keep the community going. That's really cool.
No doubt. So take me back to the first time you saw someone bend a piece of steel.
So I don't know when the first time I actually saw someone bend steel, because I've been, peripherally in the grip community, and I've had like an account on the grip board for 4 or 5 years now. But I got into grip through like the traditional like arm lifting type events where it's like thick bar, pinch, and grippers. And I never really paid too much attention to like bending at all. A friend of mine, when I actually visited him to like do grippers and a couple other things, he wrapped up a 60 penny nail for me. I think it was a 60 penny nail form, but I had no idea at the time. And he was like, here, try and bend this. And I was like, I couldn't get any power into it. Like my shoulders hurt just like trying to do this. And he kind of like looked at me funny and he was like, why can't you do this? And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing at all. And that was like a full year before I started bending. And so I just like was like, this is weird. I don't know what I'm doing. I have other stuff to focus on. Like, and then I think the next time I like really gave bending a second thought was Clay Edgen. When he did a fundraiser, he bent like 125 nails. I think there were 60 penny nails.
Yeah.
And he bent like 125 of them in an hour. And I had like never heard of anyone bending like anywhere near that many nails. And I remember he like did like a little promo video for it where he like took the nail on and put it on a loading pen with like 300 pounds. And he was like, this takes like 300 pounds to bend. And I was like, holy shit. That seems like, I don't know anything about bending, but that seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly what that was, when that was, but that's really what like stands out to me as far as like what I remember, as far as like the first memorable thing to bending. Because like people say like they saw it on like World's Strongest Man, or they saw like someone performing at like a show, like the strongman show, or like I probably saw people at like the Renaissance Fair doing it when I was a little kid. But it's the kind of thing where you're just like, ooh, shiny thing, sleight of hand, whatever. But that time with watching Clay Edgen just bend a gazillion nails like stuck with me. And like it came like we got bored with quarantine, and like I was like thinking more and more about like how we did that.
So how about the arm lifting stuff? Because that's not just your average workout, that's not just something people get into. I'm going to lift a little weights. Like, so how did you find your way into arm lifting and grip stuff?
Oddly enough, Clay Edgen also played a big role in that. I'm from Santa Cruz. My folks live in Santa Cruz, and he actually had like he recently sold it, but he had a gym in Santa Cruz like 20 minutes away from where my parents lived, and he had that all through like way back to when I was in high school. And I'm like kick myself for not ever like stopping by, because it's like right across the street from the Costco, and I like never knew, and I've been to that Costco a million times as a kid. But as the summer before I started med school and moved out to the East Coast, I like was looking for a gym to train in, because I'd been like doing powerlifting stuff for a while and like wanted to keep that going for a little while during my like couple months off for summer. and I like hit him up and was like, hey, I'm interested in powerlifting stuff. Like, could I train at your gym for the summer? And he was like, yeah, sure, come on by. And little did I know that Clay Edgin is this like titan in the grip world, you know. But he knew I was like trying to get into strongman stuff. Like I have some like reasonable grip strength from a climbing background. I would like keep the like fat grips in my gym bag and like do stuff with that. And he would just like be like, hey, like new kid, you want to come do this thing with me? And he like taught me how to do like yoke walk stuff.
Yes.
And he would like bring me over and have me do like random arm lifting lifts.
Nice.
Like he was like, here, come play with this rolling thunder. And he just like, he was just warming up, and he would just like let me play with it as he was warming up. But like he would like get up to the point where it was like, okay, like your average person probably can't lift this. Try it. And I would like lift it, and he'd be like, all right, cool. Let's add more weight because I'm not done warming up. And I would like get to the point where I could no longer lift it, and he's like repping it or whatever. But
Wow.
yeah, that, and then like the first grip tool I ever bought was a rolling thunder, which isn't the best rolling handle, but like it's, again, with Iron Mind, it's the staple, and like
Yep.
it's a nice thing to have, like the real thing if you're ever going to go to a competition and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like from that kind of like month and a half long adventure at his gym, I decided that like I wanted to get into more of this stuff, and I managed to find a gym up near my school that had like not really the right stuff, but they had like a bar I could use like an axle, and so I like got used to doing the axle deadlifts, which is one of the big three in arm lifting. I got a gripper for Christmas, and so I could then do like gripper stuff and do silver bullet, and I actually ended up getting Napalm's Nightmare pinch grip set so I could do Saxon bar stuff. And that's kind of like some of the main lifts for arm lifting. But it really was just because Clay Edgin was like, hey, come do all these things with me. And I would be like, I have no idea what this is even called. And I literally had to like message him and be like, what were those things that we did? And he was like,
No
it was
way.
probably this.
That's awesome. So you mentioned climbing. What was your athletic background leading up to that summer when you were a little doing some powerlifting and met up with Clay?
Yes. I rock climbed a little bit in high school, but it'd be kind of thing where like I'd go rock climbing like once a month, once every other month with my buddies. But in college, I started rock climbing more consistently, and like there was this one guy who we'd like hit each other up and be like, "Oh, I'm going climbing. You want to come with me?" And we'd both like drop everything and go climbing for a couple hours. And I got up to like a pretty reasonable level of rock climbing. I usually just climbed inside, so there's like people who are like real rock climbers, like kind of scoff at people who climb indoors.
Yeah.
But the nearest like really good place to rock climb was like an hour and a half away, and I needed to like rent campground stuff, and I didn't have all the like fancy gear and everything. But I would rock climb like 3 times a week.
Wow.
And I got up to mostly bouldering. I got up to V9, which is like just edging out of the intermediate range, but like definitely before the like advanced range. But I got to the point where even though my like upper body was strong, I like totally neglected my legs, and like my footwork was terrible. And I like basically, because I'm tall, if I could reach the hold, I grab onto it with like just grip strength, I could probably get it. But I wanted like my whole body to be strong. So I kind of started getting into lifting more, like squats, deadlift, bench press, that kind of stuff. And I had gotten this like cool thing where I felt like my hands were suddenly like really useful all of a sudden because of rock climbing. And then like my upper body was strong, but my lower body really wasn't. And so like powerlifting kind of helped me feel strong everywhere, which was like almost addicting. Just like the fact that you could feel strong in one place is like, great, I want to be strong everywhere, you know? And
Cool,
then
man.
over time that like I started focusing more and more on powerlifting, trying to get strong all over, and kind of went from climbing 3 days a week to climbing twice a week, powerlifting 1 day a week, to eventually mostly just powerlifting at the rock climbing gym, oddly enough. But that got me to the point where I was like still interested in like keeping my grip strong for climbing. So I would do things like I would play with the fat grips on a bar for just like doing rows. I think one of the guys who worked at the climbing gym had one of those like adjustable grippers with the like spring across the top.
Yeah.
Probably the like Robert Barabin type gripper. But like I had no idea what I was doing then, and he was trying to like hub a 45 plate, and neither one of us could like do anything but like float it across the ground. So we didn't know what we were doing, but just like climbers having fun, powerlifting sometimes. But
Nice.
it really was that like summer hanging out with Clay Edgin that I was like, this is really fun. I want to do like not just the simple 3-4 main lifts. I want to do stuff where you like put 500 pounds on your back and like waddle with it for 50
Yeah.
feet, you know,
Definitely.
all these cool things.
And how about taking it back before even the climbing? Did you grow up playing sports and stuff too?
I sort of played sports. I was always kind of the skinny nerdy kid, to be perfectly honest. I think I swam in high school at my first year of college, but it really wasn't like fun. It wasn't really my jam.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time like playing video games more than anything else.
Interesting.
I like to say that I inherited my dad's chicken legs.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like 2015, 2016 when I started squatting that I like did anything about that. I was always a skinny kid.
Wow. So once you got into the climbing, that kind of was the spark then, huh?
Yeah. It was really cool. Like I said, I felt strong, like I could do something with my hands rather than just like type and play video games.
Yeah, that's cool. And that was mostly like bouldering stuff where you're not in the harness, or were you doing like
Mostly bouldering where you're not in the harness. I do have like a whole bunch of, I have like 2 harnesses and a whole bunch of quick draws. And I think I still have a rope somewhere. Because I did go outside climbing with my housemates at the time a couple of times. And like, it is super fun, but I didn't like the idea of being like 200 feet up on a mountain wall. And like, if anything goes wrong, like, yeah, you have all the safety equipment, but like people do die
Yeah.
not infrequently from
Yeah.
freak rock climbing accidents. And like,
Yeah.
not that people don't get like horrendously injured, like in strongman, like tearing biceps and stuff, but
Sure.
like people don't die quite as often from powerlifting.
Yeah.
And like it is super fun, but it's just like you have to have all this like, it's essentially like a big exciting camping trip, and you have to be like also going camping for the weekend if you're going to go outside and do that too.
Right. Yeah. The times I've gone rock climbing, which is only a very few times, I never did much bouldering. I think I would like that more, like without the harness and that. I should try that again. But
it's interesting because bouldering, if I remember talking about this right with people as I was transitioning from like training for like power versus training to be like light and agile for climbing. But when you do like a bouldering problem, it's like 5 to 8 moves. And if you think about like 5 to 8 reps is like when you're building strength. Whereas when you're doing like top rope or lead climbing, you're doing like 25, 30 moves, and like just like time under tension is like way greater. And so that's more like the endurance or like higher reps things. And so the transition from from bouldering to powerlifting of that like smaller rep set of just like going really hard, really fast for a little while, like worked really well for me. I was when I did swim, I was a sprinter. So I like my maximum I ever wanted to swim was like 200 meters, like for like, I think that's 8 laps or something. But where I like really excelled was like the 50 meter where you just kind of go down and like straight back and you just like burn out everything you can as fast as hard as you can. And bouldering was a little bit like that, where you do like a couple of really quick, super powerful moves and then you're kind of there. And I think that's kind of how I bend as well, as I do like quick, like really hard moves. And I'm not great at that, like really like lean into a hit, you know, because I don't want to be, if I want to do something, I want to like hit it hard and fast. Like the couple of times that I've had to do some snapping stuff, I was like winded in addition to like everything else I was doing, because I just don't do any cardio.
Yeah.
Like, so like the bouldering is fun, because when you get to the top, you're like, you did it, you know. And whenever people are like trying to get into like general grip stuff and like don't really have a like specific purpose of like, oh, I want to get stronger for strongman, or I want to get stronger for like arm lifting, or like I want to like be able to, if they don't have a goal of like I want to be able to pinch 245s, or if they just want to get stronger hands in general, rock climbing is a really great way to do it, because you know you're focusing so much on your forearms, and there's different holds for different positions, and it's a really good way to like form a foundation of strength.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before, like pretty much everybody, so almost everybody that I've talked to is either coming from a powerlifting background, a climbing background, or some martial arts background,
Yeah.
generally grappling, or some combination of those things, you know? It's like, I don't know if I'm trying to think if there's been any exceptions.
Well, I think all three of those really just form like a really good foundation of just strength.
Yeah,
And it's not necessarily the like tendon strength, farm strength that you always talk about, but it's like you can do a lot of really focus on your tendons. Like I injured a tendon in my hand a whole bunch of years ago rock climbing, and just because it puts so much stress on the tiny little muscles in your hands, and like people get tennis elbow because when they're doing all these sports, because you're like stressing your tendons.
yeah,
And on the one hand, if you go too hard too fast, that's how you get tennis elbow or whatever. But on the other hand, if you like take it slow, or even if you just recover from tennis elbow, like your tendons are going to be so friggin' strong.
yeah, no doubt.
Whether you're wrestling with the rock or wrestling with a person or whatever you're
Yep.
doing. But
Yeah, it is that like I think it is just developing that strength in the gray area, or like the non-linear
yeah, like weird positions and weird movements too.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
like I would do things in rock climbing where like, all right, you have your hands here, and the next move is to put your foot above your hand, and
Yeah.
then hope that everything works out.
Yeah, I guess that is the catch with all this stuff, is like I could imagine in rock climbing, if especially bouldering or whatever, is like you're gonna have to generate power from some really odd compromised position to get to your next handhold or
Yeah,
whatever. And
that's actually why I started like lifting too, was because I was finding that even if I could get into these weird positions and like reach the holes every once in a while, the what would happen is, okay, now you have to stand up with your leg that's like up near your chest, and
yeah,
I'd be like, I can't. I
right,
don't have
right.
any power in my legs. All my power is in my shoulders and arms.
Yeah.
And so, but like in rock climbing, you like have to be able to generate power from, like you're saying, all these weird positions.
Yeah, same in grappling. And I think it's like, and if you don't have that regular foundation of strength, the what I guess I'll call linear strength,
Mm-hmm.
that's where you're going to get tweaks and injuries. I think if you're doing these odd, like generating power from the non-linear odd angle, and you don't
Yeah.
have the foundation bed of just general strength, that's when you're going to tweak yourself, I think.
Powerlifting gets all sorts of flack as far as like the shortest range of motion possible and everything, but it's a great way to get strong. Asterisk, you need something else too, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's actually funny. Somebody I follow on Instagram was just pulled like over 700 pounds deadlift, and then I saw him messing with sandbags the next day, and he was struggling bear hugging a 200-pound sandbag and walking with it. And I was like, there's your example right there,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like, because that's not that heavy of a sandbag, really. Like, and 700 pounds is a pretty heavy deadlift. Like,
Yeah, I love what David Wigren said about like you want to be able to go and pick up a rock in the middle of a field. Like that's the true test of strength right
yeah,
there.
yep, definitely.
Moving something that does not want to move and
Yeah,
was never supposed to move.
right, right. So back to bending. So Clay got you hyped on it. Quarantine hits. You order a bag of nails from Iron Mind?
I didn't. I actually never and still haven't ordered the bag of nails. The first thing I did was I reached out to Tom Flesher, because he also is active on the grip board and does other various grip things as well. And I was like, hey, I remember seeing something somewhere about like, if you're going to go to the hardware store, what would you buy? Do you remember seeing that post on like Reddit or Gripboard or Facebook? I can't find it anywhere. And he was like, no, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. But if you give me a few minutes, I can give you some pointers. And that conversation actually turned into like a big long write-up about like what you would get if you went to the hardware store. And he posted
Nice.
it to Reddit. And that's still one of the things that I send people to when they ask me like, what are you doing, man? How do you get started with this? And it was like a simple like shopping list practically of like 20, this is what 60D nails mean. This is what they look like. This is what 40D nails are. You can never find them anywhere, but if you do find them, great. You know, this is
Right.
what a timber tie is. Like, this is what 20D nails are. They're short. They're only 4 inches long. So you can like get a feel for moving something, but they're not real. And he like went through like, this is what you would need. Don't forget about wraps. And it was just like a really good, like all-in-one beginner guide.
Cool.
And so that conversation with him led me to like go to the hardware store. I cut up an old pair of jeans for wraps because I didn't know what I was doing. And I got some 60 penny nails, and like I got like 5, and then I got a pound or something of timber ties. And like I had the bit of jean in my pocket and at the store, and I was like in the aisle like trying to figure out if I could do anything, and I like had no idea what I was doing. So basically just like folded and crumpled up this like squares of jeans because I knew that they were supposed to be like 4x12 or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And so I cut out like a 4x12 piece of jean, and like that is not enough to protect your hands from a nail. So I was like wrestling with it, had no idea what I did, like came home, spent another like hour looking up videos, and then like figured out that you like wrapping the using the wrap really tight is important. And then like all of a sudden like I think it was a timber tie first, and the timber tie just like went all of a sudden. And this was like 4 weeks into quarantine or whatever.
Nice.
Everyone else is really bored. It's been ages since I saw a squat rack, and I was like, this is so cool. And then I knew that I was pretty sure that the 60 penny nail was what the guy like a year ago had tried to get me to bend. And I was like, all right, well, I have a couple of these now. And then I bent that first 60 penny nail, which I then posted to Instagram.
Awesome.
That was my like, whoa, this is really fun. I'm gonna get some more of these. And so I like went back and bought like a fistful of 60 penny nails. And then I was talking with Tom and a couple other people I knew who bent. I can't remember who the other person I asked about bending is off the top of my head, but Tom Flesher was super duper helpful. He's a professor on his day job, and he was really good about like answering questions and like feeling stuff and like sending me more resources and stuff like that. So
Awesome.
definitely a very professorial guy, but he was one of the guys that recommended the Fat Bastard Barbell Co. bag. And so I got the advanced bag of nails because he was saying, look, if you're bending 60 penny nails on your first day, aim a little higher, kid. And so I think it was my like 4th or 5th bending session. I had gotten that bag of nails from Fat Bastard, and I also my first time having like real wraps rather than just like
nice.
bits of denim. And I like wrapped up the leather wraps, and I got the bastard to move on my first try.
Wow.
I like warmed up with a couple of like, I want to say it's 9/30 seconds steel, but I like was like, all right, this is my first steel that isn't a nail I got at the hardware store. Maybe the nails I got were like crap or something. I ended up having to go to Home Depot and Lowe's to get different 60 penny nails because I was like, these are really easy, and I want to make sure it's not like inferior nails or something that I'm getting. But I didn't quite finish the bastard on my first try, and it took me like probably half an hour of wrestling with it. But it was so cool getting that thing to move. Like the first like big hit, and it's the same thing that happens that still happens when I hit a big piece of steel for the first time, is when you first like load into the bar and you feel that little bit of motion. It's that like, oh my God, it's going. You know?
Yep. Definitely. That's
And
crazy.
I just got bit so bad by the bending bug.
Yeah. So did you reach out to Tom just because of being on Long Island, or was that just random?
No, that was actually before I was on Long Island. He was
Oh,
just
okay.
one of the few people I knew who did bending stuff and regular grip stuff. And
Oh, cool.
like I said, I wasn't that into bending, so I like wasn't following people like Don Cummings or Robert Najedli. Like I
Yeah.
just like people who do mostly bending and just like other grip stuff every once in a while. I was like,
Yeah.
that's not my jam. I don't care about this stuff. They're just doing weird twisted bits of metal. That's not for me. And now I'm like, I follow every single person who does anything related to steel
Yeah.
bending
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah. Man, so just speaking of Don's Instagram, like that really opened my eyes. It was because like prior to that, I was like, okay, well you bend these things until you can bend the red nail, and then you're like a black belt, I guess, or whatever. So, and then I seen Don's Instagram page, and he's just doing the craziest stuff going, and I'm like, whoa, this goes a lot deeper than just bending that red
Oh
nail.
yeah. No, like I said, on the grip board, he's one of the posts that I do remember seeing, like people doing all this crazy nail bending stuff. And I would always check it out just because it was always like a really popular post on the grip board. And it's hard not to be like, all right, there's a gazillion comments on this thing. Like, what is this all about? And I'd see these pictures of him like where he's like holding up his hands and he has like these like bloody hamburger in his palms. And I'm like, my hands are important to me. I don't want to do that. Like, I think the other one that like stuck in my head that I would like see but didn't really understand what was going on was the guy who would bend, his post was like 10 years of consecutive
Oh
red
yeah.
nail bends. You had him on the show recently, and I can't
Yeah,
remember.
Carl Donati.
Yeah. But I remember seeing that and just being like, I don't know what these guys are doing. Like, what's the big deal with this red nail stuff? I don't know. Like, I'm way more focused on like closing the Captains of Crush #3 or like lifting the Rolling Thunder. So I don't know what these weirdos are doing. And now I'm like one of those weirdos too.
Yeah, definitely, right? So you got the bastard to move, and then what was next? Were you able to complete one the next session, or did you go back and get bolts?
I did complete it the first session, but I like didn't do it right. I was like 15-20 minutes in, really sweaty, didn't know what I was doing, and I was like wiggling around, and I actually like braced my elbow against my hip, and that's how I was able to get it in.
Nice.
But I like knew as soon as I did it, when it like moved, that it like wasn't the regular like crushing with your chest moving, and I was like, oh, I messed up. I like wanted to, I knew it wasn't the like
legit,
but I wanted to close it so bad, and I was like, all right, this is really cool for my first day, but I like gotta do this right. And so I like built up with the like 9/32. I built up with some of the square stock. But I think it was only another couple of weeks later when I did my first bastard for real.
Nice.
And I was like, the Fat Bastard Barbell Co. certs were like the first big thing that I was like had on my mind as far as like, this is a milestone I want to do.
Yeah.
So I like the first time I bent a bastard, it took me like 20 minutes and I cheated. The second time it took me like just over the 5-minute time limit for the cert, and I was like, I'm not there yet. And then a couple of weeks later, I was able to like do it. It only took me like 2.5 minutes.
Nice.
I don't think I've ever gotten it on video of me doing it like all within 1 minute, but that was my like goal, not just to eventually do the Iron Mind cert, but just like so I could post it to Instagram.
Right.
I posted a video of me doing the I don't remember if it was a grade 8 or if it was a bastard, but I had to split it into like 3 parts and do the thing where you like watch the first half of the video and then like swipe and you should watch the second half of the video on
Yeah.
Instagram. And I was like, this is dumb, but I've like felt really cool
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
time.
No, it's so funny because it's like these little adjustments we make that those of us who know how much harder that is, but to everybody else it's just like, oh, there's Devin bending another nail. Like, what's the big deal, you know?
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
funny like
I
that.
get weird comments on it like, oh yeah, I keep seeing you bend all the stuff with your hands, but like do it with your feet next time. And I was like, this guy has no idea what I'm even doing.
Right, right.
Absolutely no idea. But like, I'm glad he's like interacting with my posts and not just like ignoring stuff.
True. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
at least they're a good enough friend to like hassle me or whatever.
Definitely. So you progressed, got the bastard. What came next after that?
I don't remember exactly what my goals were because at that time I was also studying for boards, so I was kind of like using bending as a distraction, like splitting my focus between like doing this whole school thing. But I think around that same time that I bent the bastard in like under the 5-minute time limit was when I kind of realized that I needed more steel than came in just the advanced bag. And that's when I started reaching out to a couple of other people to figure out where they get their like raw steel and like different kinds of steel. And one of the first things I did, and I'm really glad that this guy named Will, I forget his last name. Hold on, I've written down. Will Gibson. He's another steel bender who pretty much just bends in iron mine pads, which is super hardcore. But he was telling me about, oh, you got to try some drill rod. That'll make you work for it. And I bought some drill rod from this like industrial supplier and cut it up, got some bolt cutters, and was like, all right, this is supposed to be harder, but it's a new material I haven't done before. I had done my first grade 8 bolt by then, and that like made me work for it at the end, but it was kind of like you kink it and then the sweep's okay, and then the crush isn't that bad but does fight you to get it down under 2 inches. And then I got this drill rod, and my God, if you have only bent cold rolled steel and have never bent drill rod, it is super duper hard. And so I quickly like realized I'd underestimated the steel because I wanted to have it as like some warm-ups to like work towards the red nail and the bastard, but quickly realized that it was like way harder and like still haven't gone through all the stock that I had. But I knew that certifying on the bastard was one of the things that I wanted to do, but I wasn't really like comfortable with like doing it in the 5-minute time limit, making sure I'd done everything right. The Fat Bastard Barbell Co. website is like kind of old, and I like wanted to make sure I was like doing everything right, making sure I was like crossing all my I's, dotting my T's, that kind of thing. So I don't think it was until after I'd like submitted my like official video for like doing the bastard, where you like measure it on camera and get the calipers and everything and like show your wraps and do the whole like 15-minute video for your like 4-minute bend, that I like really had my sights set on anything else above that. Because for a long time I was like, all right, I want to get that like certified bastard, like I want to like get my name on a list. And you know, there's been a couple more lists that have developed since then, but that was like the easy, not the easy one to get on, but that was like the main like hurdle to get over, was the Fat Bastard Barbell Co. cert. And I knew that Iron Mine pads were like really not agreeing with me quite as well as the leather pads were. So I knew that the Iron Mine cert was further away at that point.
Yeah, no doubt. So what do you think it was about bending that just got you to get in so quick and so deep?
I mean, it was kind of a perfect storm with quarantine. To be honest,
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have even made that first trip to the hardware store if it hadn't been for quarantine. But you know, I'm sure if I'd kept going to arm lifting events and if like grip sports stuff, that I would have crossed paths and rubbed shoulders with some of these guys anyways. And I'm sure I would have had somebody a second time be like, hey, try and bend this. And it would have worked for me that time. Maybe if I like had some in person be like, hey, actually move your shoulders like this, tweak your hands, all this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure I would have gotten into it eventually. But with quarantine, you know, I was like stuck at home, didn't have a gym, wanted to do something. And like, kind of in the same way that when you get to the top of a climb, you're like, I've done it, I'm on top of the world. Like when a piece of steel moves and when you crush it down to 2 inches and when you like pull out the wraps and measure it, you're like, I did it, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
it's so satisfying to like have made it, to have gotten to the top of a climb, or to like have finished a piece of steel.
It really is, man. It's so funny because it's like when you really step back and just think about what's being done, it's like almost silly in a way, but it's
Yeah.
like it really just feels so good and it's so motivating and like can literally drive you insane. Like too, it's just a interesting thing that I really only experienced this type of feeling about something is with jujitsu, where it's like it affects my whole day. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know if that's like crazy to say, but it's like if I miss on something, like I'm pretty bummed out the rest of the night, you know?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and if I had a bad day at jujitsu, like that ride home was like a dark ride home, man. You know?
Yeah, I have all of my failed bends rubber banded together in the bottom of a drawer so I can like pull open the drawer and like glare at them every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't it's funny because I haven't gotten as, let's see, like passionate about regular lifting. Like I missing a regular lift didn't affect the rest of my day. Like
Yeah.
for whatever reason about like the steel is just a different thing that kind of like gets to me on a deeper level, you know?
And at the same time, like even if a lift goes great, you're like, oh, I PR'd, and you're like,
Yeah.
that's great, but you're not like still thinking about that weight or that like squat a week later, whereas like I failed an edge and bolt last week and I like have this like horrible callus, like horrible like pit in my hand that's slowly turned into a callus, and like I'm still thinking about like how I could have done that better, and like I still have the bolt in my drawer sitting there, and
Yeah.
I'm like I can't get out of my head, you know. Like I pick out the like steel that I want to bend like an entire workout in advance. I'm like, all right, I'm ready for this stuff, I'm gonna do this stuff, I'm gonna do it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I worked out yesterday. I like have to give my body at least a couple days to recover, but I'm like, I have it picked out. I know what I'm gonna do. I know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. That's actually that brings up something I want. How many days a week are you bending, and like what are you doing for recovery and stuff these days?
So I try to only bend twice a week. Um, I know from way back when I first started rock climbing that if I did almost anything athletic 2 days in a row, that I'd like risk hurting something, whether it was my elbows or my like joints someplace else. So I try and give it a couple of days. My because of my school/work schedule, um, I'm not able to do as regular of a like Monday, Wednesday, Friday kind of a
Right.
split for anything. But you know, I don't have to drive out to a gym. Unfortunately, I'm in a dorm room right now, so I don't have a home gym of any sort. But I don't have to like go and like go anywhere if I want to bend nails. So there's like, if I can fit an hour into my schedule between studying or something like that, I usually will try and bend twice a week. If I only bend once a week, I'm like a little bummed because it's like super fun, but I almost always try and bend twice a week.
Nice.
And like if I can get into like a regular gym and do regular lifts 1 or 2 days to like offset that. But I try and bend at least once a week if I can, just to kind of like keep things loose, moving around. And then like it's also super fun, even if I'm just
Oh,
doing
yeah.
like a high volume workout where I'm just bending like a bunch of 60 penny nails. Like it's just something fun to break up the day, break up the studying, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And how long are you spending usually on a session?
Because I'm in school, I try not to go for like multi-hour things, but I usually end up spending about an hour, hour and a half. I try and tell myself that, oh, I'll just do the like stuff that I need to get going, and then I'll like be like, oh, that went really well. I'm gonna try something new, or I'm gonna like go after something that I failed last time, or like do something in a different way, or like do it in different wraps that are harder. And so I almost always end up spending about an hour and a half.
Yeah. You know what I've been doing lately that I've really been enjoying, and if at some time you're, I guess, bending in a gym or have a gym in your home, is like breaking it up into like I guess like hit training or whatever. Because I was getting sort of just like burnt out on doing like super heavy bending sessions, like strict
Uh-huh.
bending sessions, and obviously doing it like more than I should be and giving myself little dings here and there.
Yeah, I
But
think it was it Chris Stillwell who was talking about
yeah,
doing the like hit sessions with bending in between.
yep, I
Yeah,
did that.
that was a really cool idea. And like I don't have any like long bars or stuff that I'm like working on over time.
Yeah,
That was a really cool idea he had about like doing a couple things here and then a couple
yep.
things there.
Man, I had the best workout the other day, and it was exactly that. It was just like I knew I didn't have it in me to do any heavy double overhand or anything like that, but it was still like a day I wanted to lift and stuff. So I was just had like a couple like fat grip deadlift stuff going on, some pull-ups, some like sandbag squats, and then I for like a minute at a clip I would work on snapping this piece of rebar, and then I would just like go through the cycle again. And it was
Yeah.
good, man. It
And
was
then there's Josh who was doing the like bench marathon with the snapping the gold
yeah.
nail too.
That's wild too.
He
Yeah.
said that took him like 2.5 hours or something.
God. Yeah.
I
That's
can't even imagine just like a bench workout that lasts that long,
right.
much less doing two things at the same time.
I know. I know. That's like what I love so much about this stuff is like, especially I think like you're just getting into the snapping now, but like you add snapping and some brace bending into the mix, like your mind can run for hours. Like, all right, well, I could do it this way. Oh no, I could do it this way. I could tape this to that. And then, like, I swear I've spent like many like from like 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. in my bed, just like think, oh yeah, like I'll cut a burrito down to this. Like,
Yeah, yeah. The no, like you said, I just snapped my first red nail a couple of weeks ago, but after that red nail snap, which took me half an hour to do, uh, I was like shaking. I was so tired, but then I like drank some water, you know, like rested for a few minutes, like, and then all of a sudden I realized that like my shoulders weren't tired. I like my whole body was tired, but I was like, oh, I have a couple of nails I want to still bend. And then I was like doing some double overhand because I hadn't done any of that workout. And I was like, I could still bend stuff. And so I was like, all right, let's keep going.
nice. How did those DOs feel after the snapping? Because some of my best double overhands have come after hard snapping, actually.
Yeah, it was a little bit slower, but like the power was still there.
Nice.
I think that workout was I snapped my it was my first ever snap. I snapped a 60 penny and then I snapped a red nail and then I did two like the double 60 penny bend and like that felt great. So I was like, all right, I've only ever bent one 80 penny nail. I want to see if I can like was that a fluke or can I do it again? And I like wrapped up this tremendous 80 penny nail and like it went as well. And I was like,
That's
all right,
awesome.
it wasn't a fluke, you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I really do believe, I think I've said it to you like on Instagram or whatever, but it's like I can't say enough about snapping and like high volume snapping. For a while, when I was very frustrated with where I was at with double overhand, I just spent like probably 2 weeks snapping. Like I would snap like 12 60 pennies in a row or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's like it developed my hands, made them a lot tougher, I think. and just like the conditioning aspect of the, I don't know, it's like when I went, you could probably argue that they're not connected, but I really do feel like it helped along my other bending styles.
Yeah, it's definitely something I want to start getting into more. I've done it once or twice where I like snap a 60 penny as a warm up. And
Yeah,
I definitely felt like really warm
yeah,
after that. I still actually have pretty much every nail that I've bent in like a big bucket, and like a couple of them I've snapped, but I have like 5 or 6 snapped nails compared to like probably 160
yeah.
pennies in there that are unsnapped. So I have plenty of room to like work with if I need to.
That's something I wish, because that is a great thing to do with the bent nails, but you'll never, like, I Dan says it too. It's like if you plan on ever snapping it, you might as well just leave your wraps on it, because you can never wrap something bent well enough again to make it any kind of decent snap.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so annoying to try to like wrap something that's bent. It's so frustrating.
I for a while I was cutting the heads off of my 60 penny nails to do them in iron mine wraps a little bit easier, just because like it's a real pain to wrap up a nail with a big head on in iron mine pads. And I was like doing more volume, so I'd like cut off the heads of like 50 nails or something and then go through them for a couple of weeks and just like do the iron mine wraps once and then like bend 4 or 5 nails.
Yeah.
And so I do have like a handful of nails that are like headless, so I could just like slide on the wraps.
Oh,
But
nice.
it was one of the 80 penny nails that I did that I tried to wrap up, and like first of all it's super awkward to get the wraps on there, and then I was like trying to open it up to snap it and I was like, it's cold, this isn't going anywhere.
Yep.
There is something to be said for like it's at least like kind of warm for that first initial
Yeah.
bend you did, or when you first bend it. But I was like, all right, I'm gonna try this on a different one later where it's like A, wrapped better, and B, maybe a little warmer.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So what do you have on the horizon for goals? I know you've taken out the ADD, you did
Yeah, I actually have
Hexabastard.
the ADD and the Hexabastard like sitting on my desks as trophies,
Nice.
and neither one of them took me like a reasonable amount of time. I think the Hexabastard took me like 9 minutes or something, and the 80 penny around the same. I definitely want to certify on the Hexabastard someday, just because it's one of those bends where it sounds so cool. Like, first of all, if you're talking to somebody like a lay person or whatever who doesn't do bending, like, oh, I bent I'm a certified bastard, and they're like, haha, me too,
Yeah.
sucker, or whatever. But you're like, oh, I'm a big bastard, I'm a huge bastard, and they're like, what
Yeah.
are you talking about? And then you
Yeah.
say things like Hexabastard and they're like, stop, I don't know what these words are. And I just think that like it sounds so cool, it looks really cool. Like, it's not just a
Definitely.
bar, it's like a weirdly shaped like spiky piece of steel,
Yeah.
and it's like heavy in your hand too,
Yeah.
which is the weird thing. Like, it's only 5/16, but it's like a heavy piece of steel. So
Yeah.
I think that certifying on that is, I'm not quite there yet as far as the speed of it, but like I was able to do it in 10. It just took me twice as long. So I think that's one of the big goals I have for this next year.
Nice.
I had all these different goals for 2020, and like none of them happened.
Yeah.
I was gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna bench X amount. I'm gonna like lift an inch dumbbell maybe this year, next year. I'm gonna do like thick bar stuff, and that just like all went out the window. But I definitely want to take down the Hexabastard cert next year, because I know I'm close. Like,
Awesome.
I got up to the Hexabastard within 6 months of starting bending. So I feel like if I give it another like purposeful 6 months with like the insight that I've gained and all the like tips videos that you guys are putting out, that I can get there. Someday I think I want to do the Duke of all Bastards cert. I know that it's not that far above the Hexabastard, but it's like enough of a stretch that it'd probably take me a little while longer to take down.
What's that one again? I'm so bad with the fat bastard stuff.
I literally had to make a note on my phone for like what everything was called and like what everything was rated and everything. So the Hexabastard is the 5/16 by 7-inch hex
Right.
cold rolled steel. That rates around 550 pounds, but on the Kraling method, sorry. And then the Duke of all bastards is the 11 30
11, 30
seconds
seconds. Okay.
cold rolled steel, and that rates around 600 pounds.
Okay.
But it's cold rolled steel rather than hex rolled steel, so the crush is more like a red nail or a bastard.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, so those are definitely like long-term goals. I didn't expect to get the Hexabastard this year at all. That was going to be my like 2021 goal to like at some point in the course of the year of 2021 to bend that one.
Yep.
But I'm going to try and certify in 2021.
Hell yeah.
Other than that, I did the 80 penny nail, which was like really awkward because you're like, as far as the flexibility. And once I same thing I did with the first 60 penny nails, I bent one and then I went back to the hardware store and grabbed a whole bunch more. I have a whole bunch more 80 penny nails as well now, and a couple different brands, some that I can't move at all. But I also grabbed some of the 10-inch spikes and the 12-inch spikes. And I know that Brett Bracken is pretty much the only person I know who's ever bent the 12-inch spike. I know Josh just did the 10-inch one the other day, which was really cool. But I think that rather than necessarily going for bigger diameter steel, I want to start working towards longer unbraced steel, just because it's one of those things that like not as many people do. And I'm not as tall as someone like Carl Mileskoff, who's the like 6'10" former Olympian who does arm lifting stuff. But I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'2". I have a wingspan of like 6'5", so I probably have the like shoulder mobility to do something of like a longer band out there.
Yeah. When Brett was on, I think he said he only knew of one other guy that's done a 12-inch spike that way besides himself. So that's definitely a cool one if you get out to that.
Yeah.
Have you thought about chopping one down to like 7?
Yeah, I actually have a couple of my when I realized that I was going to go for some longer stock, I bought a bunch of just like regular 5/16 and 3/8 steel from the hardware store and like cut it down to like 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, just to have like more stuff to play with. I haven't had a chance to like do anything with it yet, but I have a 7-inch 3/8 piece of steel that is made from one of the 80D nails, and theoretically it's the same diameter and size as the King of all bastards.
Yeah.
But I hear the current King of all bastards stock is real mean. that and the gold nail might be ones that I like at some point in my life bend, but I don't even like want to like certify on those. I don't even want that to be a goal. It's just way too far out there.
I know it's hard not to want to like get it all done, like, but we should keep it. And that seems like once you get to Carl's episode and Brett and some other guys, like everybody,
I'm behind on episodes.
Everybody is talking about just like the long game of this thing. It's like we've all been lucky enough, specifically like us guys that started in quarantine, having like singular focus and like a very different, like I guess you still had a lot on your plate going, but managed to get a lot done. We can potentially do this for years. We don't have to hit all of our goals in the first year.
Yeah. I'm trying to set few goals and small goals.
Yeah.
Because I do want to lift the inch dumbbell someday, but like there's so many steps and milestones you got to get between here and there, and like the fact that I started strong bending a 60 penny nail on my first day was great, but like that's just the starting block, you know. I mean, we've been doing this for such a short period of time, whereas like there's people like Carl, you were saying, you know, like bending a red nail a week for 10 years. That's just, I haven't been doing anything. I mean, I'm about to turn 28. I haven't been doing anything for 10 years.
Right.
You know, I've barely been doing my own laundry for 10 years at this point, you know?
Yep. Yeah. It's hard not to get swept up in just like, all right, I'm gonna take, like, especially once you start looking at David Horn's page and you see all the like available feats you can do. Like personally, I was like getting a little too wild with that. And if I was like having a bending workout where I wasn't doing something that was getting my name on a list, I was kind of getting pissed at myself about it. And I was like, dude, chill. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't need to all get done. Like leave some stuff for the future. Like
Yeah.
and like I think there's mixed things about this because like certain guys have said whenever they're doing a bending workout, they're going to be doing something they've never done before. And I don't know, like, I think maybe just still being a beginner is like, I need workouts where I'm not really pushing the envelope still. Like
Yeah.
I think I need some days, especially with the other styles, like where I'm just getting the reps in, you know, and just like developing like my technique, I guess, you know.
No, I definitely hear that. I mean, on the one hand, as you know, relative beginners, there's a lot of stuff we haven't done, just as
Yep.
far as like styles, like types of bends and positions. But there's lots of steel, there's lots of, you know, materials and lengths and diameters and stuff that we just haven't played with and tried. But on the other hand, like you were saying with the like building the foundation of strength in a different type of sport, like you gotta build a foundation of strength with this. um
Yeah.
One of the like cooler workouts I did, just because I ended up with a huge pile of steel at the end of it, was I bent like 25 60 penny nails in one workout, which was like way more volume I've ever done in one session. But it was like I was doing them in Iron Mind pads, and I was trying to be really careful about like how I was doing it, how I was like practicing wrapping every time, you know, getting the reps in, as far as like even just the reps of like how to wrap a nail, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's important. And it's like I think in something like that's still evolving, like what we call high level of bending is certainly like being pushed every week, I feel like.
Yeah.
Um we and you also have to, I guess, just personally speaking, I need to keep in mind like I've been able to focus on this a lot and like have some success with it, but I am still like only whatever, like however many months into this thing, you know, like there is no
Yeah.
reason that I should be getting upset if I'm not able to like get on the feet page every workout, you know?
Yeah, I wanted to get on the red nail roster this year, and I know you did too.
Yeah.
um but you know, I've done a lot in the first, you know, I started bending in end of April, you know. I less than a year, I've done a lot of stuff. Like there is more time left
Yeah,
for this stuff.
definitely. All right, so we're starting to wrap it up. It's time for the medley. So we
All
got
right.
rapid fire series of questions. First one is favorite thing to bend. Speaking materials here.
Yeah, for materials, I would actually have to say that grade 8s are probably the most fun thing for me to bend. They're like just that sweet spot of like tricky to like enough effort to kink, and then like they're springy, a little bit springy in the sweep and the crush. I feel like even someone who is like more advanced could get like a good like thorough workout messing with some grade 8 bolts, just because they almost feel alive the way they're like fighting and springing back, and the cold rolled steel doesn't in the same way. It kind of like, I've heard people say it kind of like gives up in the crush. And grade 8s, they like the first grade 8 I ever did, I did it to like 1.99999 inches or whatever. I like was like adjusting the measuring tape to see if I actually finished or not, because I was like wailing on it and it would like spring back and didn't move. And I just did some today and it did the same thing where I was like, oh, I finished this nail, and then I looked and it was like just barely under 2, and I was looking at it like, this is insane. I laid into this nail or bolt. But yeah, I'd have to say that grade 8s are definitely the most fun for me to bend right now.
Nice. You got to start snapping those. I think they're a cool thing to snap, because I was training for whatever the last steel shredder was for David Horn, and I hadn't snapped a grade 8 before, and maybe not even a grade 5 at that time. I'm not sure. But I figured, okay, well, they're harder to bend, they'll be harder to snap. But they hold up. The grade 5 is actually harder to snap. It takes longer to snap. It has more durability or shearing force. Gil told me the term.
Yeah, I don't know anything about metallurgy or whatever.
So like a grade 5 can deal with more like back and forth like pressure, right? But it's actually easier to bend. But a grade 8 is stiffer to bend but easier to break. So it's like it's very stiff to start snapping, but it gives up faster. They're cool to snap, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even all the more reason to invest in some grade 8s.
Yeah.
I just bought like 40 of them.
Nice.
And I want to start doing them either as like a warm up to my like heavier bends, or as like after I'm all done, just to kind of like get a like little bit of extra practice in, just because they are that like fun crush terrible thing at the end.
Yeah, definitely. All right. How about the hardest thing to bend for you?
The hardest thing to bend is going to be the drill rod. Like I said, the cold rolled steel will kind of give up a little bit, and the drill rod, it is every bit as hard to kink as it is in the crush and in the sweep. You know, if a piece of steel is rated for whatever amount, usually that's just the amount to kink it, and I swear it takes just as many pounds of force to crush down this drill rod. It is a miserable fight. It is so hard.
Yep.
Great training tool because of it, but my God, I get so tired after some drill rod. That's like the finisher for me. I can't do anything after that.
Nice. All right, strongest bending style.
For me, definitely double overhand. That was the first thing I've tried, and it's how I've moved the biggest steel. Nice. Other than like with the leg crush, I've bent the biggest stuff double overhand.
Nice. Weakest style.
I have to say underhand. I was trying some. It was the grade 8s today. I was trying to underhand a grade 8, and it just didn't feel right, didn't want to move. I was tired when I got to reverse, but the reverse, at least like the motion felt like it made more sense. Like if I didn't know anything about bending, I would like imagine I would like hold it out from my hands and like wiggle my wrist back and forth. But it's probably just an issue with positioning and technique, but double underhand sure doesn't feel good for me.
Interesting. I find that so interesting, because I haven't met a person yet or spoke to a person yet that's like, oh yeah, like double overhand is my best, and then a double underhand and reverse are about the same. Everybody has a preference over one or the other, like, and a fairly strong preference. And I actually think more people prefer a reverse over double underhand. But me personally, I think Carl Donati was the same. Maybe a few other guys prefer double underhand, and I wonder if there's some type of like strength, like physical attribute or something that we have that allows us to have that style feel better, or if it strictly just is a preference thing. I'd love to.
Well, it might be that. Like where you're strong in your wrists as far as your grappling background, because with reverse, you're kind of stabilize. It's more of a stabilizing the like top of your wrist back and forth on both ends, and you're kind of moving it against it. Whereas with reverse, it's kind of more emphasis on the underside of your wrist almost. So it might
Yep.
just be like the different ways that you've trained your wrist in the past with like grappling and things
Interesting.
like that.
Yeah.
I remember, my God, I can't remember his first name, but Rolls Too Hard is his Instagram handle.
Amir.
Amir talking about on his episode how that because he started doing reverse that he like almost you couldn't like break a wrist lock or whatever on him because his like that top of his wrist was like so strong. So it might just be like a which side of your wrist is dominant or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Something outside of bending and strength training that you like to do.
Are dogs a hobby? 'Cause I love animals. I love dogs. I could never be a vet because it's so stressful not being able to like communicate with the animals. But before quarantine and everything, anytime I see a dog, I'd like even if I'm like in a cafe, I'd like interrupt the coffee conversation, be like, look, a dog, you know. But as far as like actual hobbies, I really like watching movies, like a really good movie, and TV shows to an extent, but oftentimes they're more like shorter storylines. But I really like a long developed story and like really good character development. I read a lot too, but it's harder to share a book with someone, whereas like I can watch a movie with like a group of friends or with my partner or whatever, and like break down the movie and like pause it and like talk about the movie and stuff like that.
Nice. All right. What's the one bend that's gotten away so far?
The engine bolt that I tried last week really got away from me. I started it, I put a kink in it, but I wailed on that thing for 45 minutes before I like gave up because my hands couldn't take it anymore.
Nice.
Definitely something I'll come back to, but that sure thing got away from me.
And who's the strongest person you know? This could be
I feel like I've talked about him a lot, but Clay Edgin is absolutely the strongest man I know. I was talking to him about the 80 penny nails a couple weeks back, and he told me that he was able to reverse an 80 penny nail once. Wow. And that's just absurd. I mean, he I think got out of bending right around the time that the gold nail started, but damn, I'll bet if that guy in his prime had been given a gold nail, he would have started on that thing no problem.
Yeah. All right. How about best piece of advice you're ever given about, this could be about strength stuff or just life in general?
So one of my dad's friends gave me a really good piece of advice, and that was to invest in good tools. He actually has like a full workshop in his basement. And he was talking to me about how if you really invest in like good material, good like tools, that not only will you not have to buy them again later, but you'll be able to do better stuff further down the line. And I kind of have taken that to heart as far as like buy nice things that aren't going to like break and wear out. But I kind of also take it as a like invest in yourself, invest in your future, like spend a little bit of extra time, effort, money, whatever it is now to make it so that you'll be able to do better and do more later on down the line.
Nice. All right. And last question is, what's the funniest reaction a person has had when they find out you spend your time bending nails?
I had one person say, like Superman? And they were like, I could tell they thought I was joking. But you know, I had a friend of mine tell me that if I ever tried to do this kind of thing at like a global gym or like at a Planet Fitness, that I would get kicked out and the people there would piss themselves just like looking at all the weird stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah, I wonder how that would go. That
be like, I didn't set off the lunk alarm, and they're like, yeah, but you bent nails with your hands. That's not allowed. And I'd be like, show me in the rules, and they were like, no, get out of here.
It's interesting to like someone that would get into bending and then like not Planet Fitness is great or whatever. Like if that's what you're working with, that's cool. But I think just like potentially the person at Planet Fitness is relationship with strength is so much different than like what we're talking about
Yeah.
here. It's just like kind of crazy to think about that we're talking about the
That's
same
like the
thing in a
complete
sense.
opposite of the like chaos factor or whatever,
Yeah.
as far as like lifting a stone is the like, all
Right.
right, I have this machine or this cable rack, you move in absolutely one direction and it
Yeah.
won't let you move in any other direction.
Yep.
This is
All
as
right.
far out of the box as you can get.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like what someone like that would think of Bud Jeffrey's Instagram.
Yeah.
Like this.
They wouldn't even know what they were
Why?
looking at.
Like, yeah. All right. In closing, who is someone you'd like to see me have on the show?
So I think it would be really cool to get some women on the show. There's a couple of people that I know who have done, I think they've all done blue nails, I think.
Yeah.
So Melody, I'm going to mess up their names because I know them by their Instagram handles, not their
Okay.
names, but Melody Schoenfield,
Uh-huh.
she does a lot of stuff with horseshoes,
Oh, nice.
and some long bar stuff. And then
Cool.
Amy Day Larson and
Okay.
Amanda Hudson have
Amanda's
both
booked for
done,
next week.
awesome. I think they've both done some shorter unbraced work,
Yeah.
but I think it'd be really, I mean, you've had all these amazing, really strong guys, but I think it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to see a different perspective on stuff. I mean, the challenge dude has a like separate cert for ladies.
Yeah.
The barrel bars briefly had a separate cert for ladies, and
Yeah.
I was like trying to think of like a different name that would be like a bastard bar that would be more for ladies. But I think it'd be really
Yeah.
interesting to see, because like grip sports and like strength sports in general can be very male dominated, and I think it'd
Yeah.
be really cool to get not just some female voice in the show, but to get like a different perspective on all this like macho bro stuff. But like
Yeah.
there's all, I know there's a bunch of strong ladies out there. I just want to see them get
Yeah.
elevated a bit more too.
I've worked a little bit on getting Elizabeth Horn on here, and I'll have to go back to that a little bit. Both
Yeah,
her and
hasn't
David.
she like snapped a red nail or something
Oh yeah,
crazy?
a bunch of stuff. Yeah, like she's insane. Both her and David are a little. I just don't think podcasts are their thing, but I'm gonna keep pestering them. Actually,
that'd be cool to
yeah,
get either one of them on.
the challenge dude bar. I gotta break that out maybe in a couple weeks, or geez, maybe a couple months, say. But my wife actually just bent a timber tie double overhand on Christmas Eve. First
nice.
rip.
Yeah, I
First try.
got my partner to bend a 60 penny nail.
Hell
I
yeah!
like have a picture
Nice.
when she's holding it, and
That's
it's like
great.
I don't think she really like was into it, but she was like
She
excited
did
because
it
I was
anyway.
excited, you
Yeah.
know.
That's cool.
But it was cool. I try and get my like I got drunk a couple of weeks ago and like bent nails from my friends, and they were like, what are these? And they got all excited and was like talking about it, and I like
Yeah.
tried to get them to work, and they were able to do like a 3/16 piece of wire or something,
Nice.
but like they held on to the 60 penny nails that I gave and bent for them. So
Oh,
I thought that
cool.
was pretty cool.
All right. As we wrap up, where can people find you on social media and stuff?
Instagram is probably the best place to get a hold of me. My Instagram
right.
handle is at Eat Chalk Get Big.
Nice.
Great. And somebody
names.
made the joke about like, well, how are you going to get big if you don't eat your chalk? So.
Awesome. And any events or brands or gear you want to shout out? Probably not events.
Yeah. Arm Assassin Strength Shot
Nice.
is run by a guy named Lucas Raymond, who I
Yep.
believe is actually on both the Fat Bastard Barbell Co. cert and the Iron Mind cert, or
Yep.
on the Iron Man Red Nail cert.
Yep.
He makes some absolutely great products if you are interested in grip strength. I don't
Yeah.
think he bends anymore, but like he has the Napalm's Nightmare rolling handle setup that is a phenomenal tool.
Nice.
He does a lot more work in like the heavier bomb-proof stainless steel or iron stuff, but I know Gil from Barrel Strength does some great work in aluminum, but both of them are the good options. I just don't think that Arm Assassin has gotten as much on this podcast. He does a lot of arm wrestling tables. Like he'll make arm wrestling tables and stuff too.
His site is awesome. I've definitely like spent a lot of time browsing on there. He's got a bunch of cool like pull-up rack type looking things.
Yeah,
awesome.
he's got some cool stuff. I have several $100 of like different stuff I've bought for him. I've had
Nice.
him make me a couple of custom pieces and everything, but
Cool.
he makes some really cool stuff. And then the
Nice.
other one is Cannon Power Works. If you're interested in grippers, he's like a one-stop shop for anything gripper related, and he sells iron mine nails and iron mine pads. So
Right on.
got everything.
And I forgot to do it at the top of the show, but Smash and Pass on Instagram. If you guys want to save 10%, promo code Beyond10. Really, really cool site. Got a bunch of cool jujitsu t-shirts up on there. Some
Yeah,
strength
he does some
stuff,
great stuff.
some
Yeah,
really cool stone lifting
I
stuff.
think
Which is
his main account is Aikido, Aikiedo, but he's a guy named Levy from Scotland, and he's a really cool dude. He's really strong. He's one of the guys who's like training stone lifts all the time. And I think quarantine kind of messed up his lifting and training schedule, but he got like this close to lifting the Denny stones last time he tried. And I think that once the quarantine lets up, he's going to be one of the first people to get his name on that Denny stone roster.
Yeah,
he's an awesome dude.
Yeah. So definitely take advantage of that promo code. It's got the jiu-jitsu world covered. It's got the stone world covered. It's got the strength world. It's really cool. So, all right, Devin, that's it, man.
Yeah, it's great talking to you, Cody.
Yeah. All right. We'll do it again. Might have the whole bending class of 2020 on here one day.
Yeah, that'd
really,
be fun.
Talk a bunch of shit. All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
See you later, Cody.